Hello, 1301. This is C-Rob. I wanted to shoot a video going over the questions, the Rodriguez questions that you're doing on your first discussion board, and then your draft, and then your first paper. Because of the coronavirus, I'm kind of by myself. I'm in my classroom using my iPhone, and I have to upload it. There's a lot of stuff to have to do. So this might not be my best lecture, but I did want to help you a little bit with the questions you have to do. The first question on your Rodriguez question sheet has to do with common experience. To what degree is his story the story of our common experience? Why might he want to insist his story is everyone's story? I think that question is about schooling more than anything else. Everyone grows up, leaves their family, goes to school. And when you go to school, there's a certain degree of conditioning, but you meet new people, new ideas, what your friends think, what your teachers think. So for number one, I don't think that question is about, I played high school football. I did, but it's not about high school football. You're a gamer. It's more about the concept of school, per what he wrote in his essay. Number two, ask about the end of education, miseducation, the silence of reading, the habit of abstracting from immediate experience. Rodriguez grew up pretty poor in California. He really wanted to be a professor to get away from his hometown. So he sucked up to his teachers. He made it. He became a professor. He has a PhD. He's famous. But he was kind of lonely. He didn't have too many friends. Friday night, he was studying. He didn't go to the pub. He didn't go have coffee with his friends. He stayed home and did his work. And usually the first or second day of class, I would ask my students, are you at Odessa College to get an A, to be done with English, so you can move to Big Spring and have 2.5 kids work in the oil field? Or are you here to learn something, find your voice, make connections to other people? And that first day, usually students are there. I want an A. I want to pass English. I don't have to take English anymore. But maybe philosophically, if you're in school to begin with, you want to learn something. And that kind of connects on my theme sheet to the idea of product versus process. Product is kind of capitalistic. I'm banging on the desk here. I want to get my A. I want to make that money. Process is you're learning something along the way. And I mean, I want you to be honest when you answer that. Sometimes you're supposed to tell your English teacher, I'm here because I want to learn something. But maybe you really do want to get that A. But number two kind of asks you process, philosophically learn something, product, get that A, graduate, be done with school. And a lot of the other questions have to do with Rodriguez's strategy, like hiding in the book, maybe making his parents into characters in the book. Number three asks you to compare Rodriguez to Hogarth, who was his mentor, a British guy. You can look up his picture, writing in the 50s and the 60s. A nice man, wants to help people, but he would go do a case study on poor families. So he was trying to be objective. He would go and observe. One of the quotes, I think, on 517 in Module 1, Hogarth describes what it's like for a scholarship kid to do his work. And his mother's ironing, his brother's listening to the radio, his sister's yelling, and there isn't a space in his house where he can sit down and do his work. And over the years at Odessa College, I've had students say, she lived with her uncle. She had to go to her garage to do her work. Or her little cousin came out and wanted to play. I think the crux of that question, Rodriguez is telling you his real bloody story, his autobiography. It's subjective. Whereas Hogarth is trying to be objective. He's sort of off in the corner studying the scholarship family. So if you do that question, you could debate which one of those styles of learning, teaching you relate to. I assume you would like Rodriguez more because he's telling you his real story. Over the years, number 4 might be the most popular question with my students because you don't really have to talk about Rodriguez. You're telling your story, your parents, your hometown, your friends, your experiences with school. Maybe they're positive, maybe they're negative. But for number 4, read Rodriguez, understand what he's saying, and then write your story of your life, of your family, of your education. And then number 5, basically I wrote on my notes to me, is it okay to psychoanalyze your parents, your friends, your community? I grew up in Virginia. My mom's pretty hardcore heckler. But I'll go home and she'll be yelling at me. I make a mess. She might yell at me in the bathroom while I'm in the bathroom. And I don't want her to ruin Christmas. So I kind of think of my mother as a poor girl, like a character in a book. Instead of arguing with my mother, being angry with her, I just think about what life was like for her back in the 1950s. And I kind of use that as a coping mechanism. So I'm not mad at my mother. In class, I would ask, like, if that was elitist to make your mother into a character in a book. And I would argue in Rodriguez's story, he does just that. He's studying all the time. He wants to be a professor. So if he's angry with his mother or he doesn't understand something about his father, he makes them into like a poor family in a book. So Chris Farley used to do that too. There was a skit. But anyway, that's the 5 Rodriguez questions, quick and dirty. I apologize if this is a little scattered, but I'm doing this by myself. I'm scrambling to get this up on Blackboard for you. Okay.